How's it going? It's Grant with the Garden of Eater. Shelby will be joining me shortly, but tonight our topic will be on what starting shrimp should you start out with, Neocaridina or Caridina. There's several other choices of shrimp, but these are the two that we're going to focus on tonight. In my opinion, besides Opaula, they're like the easiest shrimp to breed. And if you need help choosing on whether or not you need Opaula or something else, that's just whether I want salty or freshwater. So between two freshwater options tonight, these are basically a very easy option. It's going to boil down to what are your tap water parameters, what is your total cost and budget that you have for the overall expenses, what's your temperatures, where do you live, what's the weather kind of like, what's your color or pattern preference, do you want to challenge, you want to play with genetics, what type of plants are you going to grow, are you worried about snails or tank mates or other fish in the tank or anything like that? And then, of course, we're going to be talking about overall profits between one or the other. So let's start off with the main reason why most people should choose one or the other. And it's going to boil down to what are your tap water parameters straight out the tap. Here at our house, we have perfect water parameters for just about any type of Neocaridina, and most tiger shrimps can also do all right in our tap water as well. Our tap water comes out about 170 to 180 total dissolved solids, 7 to 9 GH, and 3 to 4 KH. And that does fluctuate depending on the time of the year, how hot the pipes are, corrosion, and stuff like that is going to play into effect. So you always want to be wary about the fact that they do change filters. They do also alternate between chemicals that they use to keep the water crystal clean and stuff like that, between chloramine and chlorine and stuff. So you definitely want to be wary of what exactly is inside your tap water. You can also contact your water treatment facility, and they will give you a total report of what's in the water, even minerals and other things that we don't actually test for within the hobby. Kind of fun and interesting to see what actually is in your water that we don't even look at in the aquarium hobby as a whole. So um, that is something. If you had water parameters like that, obviously you wouldn't want to do Caridina shrimp in your tap water, but you could, alter the parameters just a little bit, make them around 220 dissolved solids, and get that, uh, you know, prime for tiger shrimp, but without having to do anything to it. And if that's what you're looking for, and your tap water parameters are anywhere above 150 total dissolved solids, chances are you're better off doing Neocaridina than Caridina. Now, let's talk about the opposite spectrum. Now, if you're under 150 total dissolved solids, let's go to like 30 total dissolved solids. All right. Now, your water might have some KH in the water. It might not. If you don't have any KH, you're super lucky. You could possibly use a GH only mineral with your tap water and mix it for Caridina shrimp. There is very few people out there. It's less than 10% of the people that I talk to that are in the shrimp hobby are blessed with that kind of water parameters. Majority of us all have a little bit of KH in the water, and if that is a factor at all, then you're going to have to get an RO unit. Now, if your tap water is 30 and you have 1 or 2 KH in the water, well, the good thing is you're not going to have to get a really expensive RO water uh, unit in order to get pristine RO water. There's like a RO buddy that is like roughly $50. Last time I checked, they were going as low as $45. But to get a good 5-stage RO unit, most of the time you're spending $100, $150. The ones that we use a 200 gallon per day unit. It basically runs 24/7. We've got a big, large storage container so that way it doesn't overflood and we have water on hand whenever we need it. But if you're only using water for 1 or 2 tanks, and you don't have to get water in demand. You don't need to make water that fast. Some of the cheaper RO buddies will work as long as you don't have like a TDS above 90. If you have it like a 90 to 150, it is possible that you can use an RO buddy. You're just going to go through filters a little bit quicker, and have to make sure that the filters are pristine to make sure that they're pulling out as much TDS as possible. Anything above like 8 total dissolved solids, you do have a higher chance of having slighter amounts of KH in the water that could be not 1 GH, or it could be 0.4. Or, I'm sorry, 1 KH. It could be like 0.4 KH, and that's not going to read, but still that might be affecting your pH or the overall lifespan of your soil. So definitely want to make sure that you get an RO unit. If an RO unit is not something that you're willing to buy, then stick with Neocaridina. If you have, say, 30 TDS and 0 KH in your water, you can use salty shrimp GH KH only, or GH and KH minerals to adjust your water parameters for Neocaridina, and you never really have to worry about an RO water dispenser or anything like that. The other ways around getting an RO unit would be like buying distilled water from the grocery store or something like that. But for the most part, that's a lot of work. Even if you have one, 10-gallon tank to do a 20% water change every week, you need 2 gallons of water, and then you're going to the water to go get new water every week, or you get a 5-gallon jug and you have to go every 2.5 weeks or whatever you're going to be doing your water changes. And it's just a lot of moving water around, and your back can feel it after some time. So I really suggest investing into an RO unit if you're going to think about doing Caridina, because you're only going to, the less maintenance you have to do, the more you're going to want to be, the longer you're going to stay in the hobby. So if it's taking too much time and maintenance becomes a hassle, you're not going to want to do it. And having an RO unit really takes out all of the hassle of moving around a bunch of jugs and water containers. And the moment you've all been waiting for, we have Shelby finally. It's been rough in chat. I see in the demanding where you're at. I think there are actual questions on this topic, but I cannot even read chat, so it's all you tonight.
I'll find some.
So if you are on the lower spectrum of the total dissolved solids out of the tap water, you can mix to keep the Neocaridina. And overall, without an RO unit, Neocaridina are going to be the easier option. So that is that. You scrolling all the way up before we get to you?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So basically, if you don't want to get an RO unit, a lot of that has to do with two things. One, you're scared of the plumbing. There are some really super easy attachments, like the one that we have that hooks up right to a garden hose. So there isn't any plumbing or anything like that. We use the back brace of the RO unit itself to drill 2 holes into a 2x4, and we mounted it up on the wall, and then we just hook it straight up to our hose. Before we use the hose, we did have a sink that had a spigot that had the same fitting as the water hose, so we hooked it up to that just fine. And most faucets have that hookup on them, so you don't have to tap them into plumbing. The other thing is price. Like I mentioned, you can get a cheap one if you have low total dissolved solids. You can get away with an RO buddy. If your total dissolved solids are a little high, then you're going to have to get one of the 5-stage units, invest in like $150 unit. You don't have to get crazy though, because basically what it boils down to, the filters are what's going to be the pricey thing in the end, and the hardware is pretty much all the same. It doesn't matter what brand you get. Sorry.
Jeff said that his water has extremely low TDS, and it does dissolve the inside of pipes and water heater.
Yeah.
It's acidic at that point. Straight acid.
Yeah, so you might want to run it through an RO filter just to be on the safe side. Especially if you have copper pipes. We have old copper pipes in the house, but we have harder water, so it's not really an issue.
James said, Grant, my tap water equals 112 TDS, 0 GH, 0 KH, and pH of 6.8. Shrimp doable.
Absolutely not. And something's got to be going on there because you have to have something in the water to give you total dissolved solids that would measure somewhat in GH or KH. So you might want to check what kind of test kits you're using. If you're using those strips are no good. So try getting the API drops, the Fluval, the Sierra drops are also good as well. So the RO unit starting price could be a little iffy. The substrate's going to be a little bit more money. And then, of course, the average price of Caridina shrimp is a little bit higher than the Neocaridina shrimp overall. So if price is a factor and your budget is low, I would consider sticking with Neocaridina over Caridina shrimp.
Allergies are going crazy. Tube Dog said, what's the difference between red, Bloody Mary, Sakura, and Fire Red? I think I have all 4 breeds in one tank. How do I tell them apart?
All right, so basically, if you don't know what you have, Bloody Mary or Fire Reds, I can guarantee you more than likely have Fire Red Cherries or Red Cherries Sakura. If you need to go blow your nose, I can manhandle this for a little bit. But what it basically boils down, the difference is going to be between genetics. If you have a back line, it's a good sign that you have the red cherry line. If there's no back line, you really can't use that as a guide to say you have Bloody Marys or not. So you want to make sure you're buying Bloody Marys from a trusted source. But basically, it boils down to Bloody Marys come from the Black Rose or a chocolate line, and they're basically a genetically step removed away from red cherries, but still have the red pigment. Bloody Marys are notorious for having culls. They'll throw lightly colored males just like red cherries will, but they can also throw other colors like red. Obviously, they're going to throw red, but blue, black, brown, and other colors like that. Really depends on the line. We've gotten really lucky making some Bloody Marys from scratch that have bred true off the very first cross. Not all of the lines are like that. Also, when you turn on the lights, a lot of the Bloody Marys will look like purple or bluish in color, where the red cherries can still do this, but it's more common in Bloody Marys. So it's really like impossible to tell the difference apart. But most of the Bloody Mary lines out there are just renamed red cherries to sell for more money. But the true definition of Bloody Mary comes from a chocolate or black rose line. So then let's focus on the difference between fire red, Sakura, and painted fire red cherries. Basically, you have red cherries. This is going to be any red Neocaridina, except for Bloody Marys, I guess. And then you have Sakura, which just means like 50% coverage of the body. And then your fire reds are going to be 80% coverage or more, basically head to tail. You're not going to see any transparent gaps or anything like that. With the Sakura, you'll see like breaks in the pattern. Anywhere between 50 to 80% coverage is basically Sakura grading. And then beyond fire, you have painted, where the shells are so thick that the shrimp looks like it has red paint just glossed over the top of it. It's got a thicker shell, but pretty much these are all just buried females in their prime, mature, adults. So
Alberto said 250 TDS tap water, 5 to 7 GHKH, 5 GH7, whatever. So straight to tap water Sulawesi, question mark, technically they're Caridina.
So my biggest thing about doing Sulawesi shrimp is keeping things consistent, and I wouldn't do tap water for Sulawesi because your water will not be consistent throughout the year. the only way to really make consistent, stable water for the Sulu SA shrimp is to do the RO water and mix it with the salty shrimp minerals. With those parameters, you're better off doing like Neocaridina, or you could even do some like tiger shrimp, like some tangerine tigers. But they're a Caridina shrimp, but they're like a total different subspecies.
And James said he uses API liquid, been in the hobby since the 60s. The only thing I could think of is that you would have to add minerals to that to actually have Caridina, to have some GH in the water in order to have them. But wouldn't you suggest Caridina over Neos for that?
For what?
Is 160 TDS, 0 GH, 0 KH.
That's not possible though. He's using API drops. I don't know how old the API drops are or what your TDS kit is, but it couldn't possibly have it. You have to add GH minerals into your water in order for the shrimp to molt. And with your TDS already being that high, you're better off stripping out that TDS or whatever minerals are in the water that are affecting that you're not testing for. It's probably not going to be beneficial for the shrimp.
Tube Dog coming in with the $5 super chat says, I love how you guys answer my questions and get to everyone during your chats. Thank you. We tried. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm very awkward tonight.
Thank
Still
you,
trying to
Tube Dog.
catch up just to be here. I feel so far behind already.
We've got a big week ahead of us. So today was a huge day. We had over 800 shrimp going out today. So it's probably close to 1,000. So it was not a rough day, but a long one. First day of school too, so that's why Shelby had to wait at the bus stop for over an hour and a half.
It's insane. Apparently, the kids had to wait at school for a very long time. We are also suffering bus shortages, so very sad to see that going on everywhere.
So we talked about starting price. Just overall, Caridina are going to be more expensive. I think I broke it down into a price sheet before, and the average price for setting up a cheap Caridina tank was $110, and Caridina tank was $250 to $350. It really depended on how low TDS you have. The other thing I want to talk about is TDS. So what is TDS? It's the total dissolved solids in your water. It's measuring basically GH, and I don't know what else it's really testing in the water to put together the total dissolved solids. So, and it's not really something that any shrimp breeder really pays attention to. What if it's phosphates? Phosphates making your water 110 TDS, that's going to crank out a lot of algae in your tank. So that's not a good thing. I don't know why. Now I have allergies.
I'm so sorry. Oh my god.
No.
I was just stirring stuff, looking for stuff today. Stirred some dust up.
Well, I was also in there trying to find the laptop chargers too. So first day of school, kids get homework. Homework's to charge the laptop. Mission failed. We can't find the laptop charger. We know where the laptops are. Can't find the chargers. New one's on the way. So, how do we test the total dissolved solids? Well, the easiest way is to get a TDS pen. They're fairly cheap on eBay. I recommend getting one that you can calibrate, getting some calibration fluid. I think the one we have is 336 TDS. And then there's a 0 TDS water. So you calibrate it and make sure that your numbers match up, and then you're good to go basically. And you just calibrate it every 4 to 6 months. It really depends on how often you use it, or how particular you want to be. But I definitely recommend every shrimp keeper getting a TDS pen now, whether you keep Neocaridina or Caridina shrimp. For people that keep Neocaridina, having a TDS pen and just dipping it into the water right before you use any tap water, and you'll know whether or not your TDS is in the same ballpark as it usually is. And if something's off, that's generally a good sign that they're doing a clean in the water treatment plant facility, or the weather of the pipes. Maybe there's a blockage somewhere, and they had to reroute water to a new pipe that hasn't been used for a while. Like these are all things to think about. So I would definitely get a TDS pen if keeping shrimp or aquatics in general. Anything for me?
Not
Moving
yet.
on. All right. So the next thing would be temperatures. There's a few people that live out in the desert or live out in areas where you don't have an AC unit, and you open up the windows to air out. My grandpa lives up in the mountains, so he doesn't really have an AC. They just open up all the windows to the house, and it really, how many windows do you want to open? It depends on how cold it is in the house. So if you're like that, and then in the summer you just can't keep the temperatures down, and your house kind of climbs up into the 80s, or you're older and you just like the temperatures that way because your bones get colder, that's something to think about. If your household temperatures regulate above 76 degrees, I would get Neocaridina over Caridina shrimp. Recently, this year, we set up a Caridina tank in the garage, Tangerine Tigers. Haven't really seen any dead bodies, but we're definitely not getting any breeding in the tank. No survival for baby survival rate, anyways. So I think it's too warm for them. There wasn't any like bacterial crash or anything like that, but I just would not recommend it if you have them in the garage and that's the only place you can keep your shrimp and you live in Florida. Probably not. But Lucas Bretz, he lives like 2 hours north of us, and he's got them outdoors. I think it is regulated a little bit, but our garage gets pretty hot with the dryer and everything in there. What's up?
I thought it was a net in the tank. It's
No,
a
it's the heater.
heater. It's very shiny. It looks like a little UFO landed. I wonder if they think that aliens have
No.
invaded.
Looks like a spatula or something.
Yeah. Their name, I have the ability for large outdoor tubs and indoor tanks. Going to do both. Do you agree with my instinct to use the outdoor tubs to breed in bulk and use the smaller indoor 20 gallons each to refine and the best of each line?
Yeah, so another thing you can do is there's certain shrimp that you just don't need a wasted tank for inside, and there's certain shrimp that you just don't need a wasted tank for or a pond for outside. So we learned like doing tank shrimp that need a lot of culling. Like we're getting away with black rose outside, but the green jades, it was just impossible. It seemed like there was always an ugly male in the back that was just having too many babies, and you have an ugly male that's the father to a bunch of almost all ugly parents. Like you really need good genetics with green jades from both parents to get a good percentage of high quality shrimp coming out of them. So we moved all of our green jades inside. It's just pointless keeping a pond form outside. Same with the orange. We almost never sold any orange really shrimp. Period. We sold red really culls, but it was basically all we could do. So focusing those inside was definitely worth it. But yeah, doing a line and having your best lines inside is always the way to go, and having backups of each.
Joe asked, up to what age will male and female cherry shrimp be able to still breed?
I mean, honestly, we had a Caridina shrimp that was 6 years old, and I think it was still producing babies and buried on its last journey to the international, not the internet, the Aquashella contest that we entered. So I wouldn't say that the shrimp really stopped breeding. Um, as long as you keep the tank mixed up and have a good environment for them, they'll breed as long as they'll survive, basically.
Yeah, unless you change their parameters dramatically when they're older. As a full grown adult, if you were to take them and put them in a different tank and it was different parameters, they will stop breeding most likely. They're become too stressed, just like chickens. Chickens will breed like till they're really old, but you move them and they could die from stress alone.
Yeah,
Stop
it's stress
producing.
in general. The older a shrimp is, the more stress induced they're going to be. That's why the older females or females that are pregnant end up being the first ones that die in shipping and stuff like that.
Tube Dog said, "Do the painted reds have dark patches in them?"
They can. Those would be Kanoko red cherries. It's something that can happen in Bloody Marys as well, and it can be in fire reds. It doesn't necessarily have to be with the painted fire reds. Some would say that the Kanoko is undesirable. Others would say that it's really cool, neat, and interesting. It's just not something a lot of people try to breed for, and it's not a really stable gene. It's more like something that just pops out. If you have 1,000 shrimp breeding, you might have 100 of them come out.
And the next one is not a question. Just someone watched a video that said Bloody Marys came from cherry crossed with blue shrimp. Strange. Fisk did say one of my emeralds has gotten much larger, has developed a really dark brown color. Is that normal?
The dark brown color is something that might be coming from stress. Um, I'm not sure on what color substrate you have. If you have black substrate, it might be trying to color up. We have had a couple of the emeralds just get super dark that they turn black. You just cull those ones and remove them. We've culled those and removed those to a lighter substrate, and they looked more green. We've also had some that showed like a reddish or orange kind of pigmentation onto the shrimp, and then maybe later on those ones could be looking brown. I had some that they kind of just turned like maroon metallic and then dark and then black. So I was really hoping it would turn into something like really cool and interesting and neat. But I would say it's normal. Like a lot of the culls of any kind of shrimp can do that. So it's just green emeralds have a lot less culls than green jade shrimp. So and then the other thing is as shrimp mature, they can gain pigment. Pigments can mature, and once they overlap, it's kind of like when you play with paints as a kid. They kind of turn brown and nasty or black, coloration.
James said his water, that's the same person as earlier that had no GH or KH and the higher TDS, said its city water comes from a local river.
Yeah, I would just like get a report from the city and figure out what else is in the water that's making that total dissolved solids that high. I'm telling you, if you find that out, there's a couple people in the industry that would just like want your water because of the TDS hub. But like I said, it doesn't mean it's a good thing. If it's phosphates or something that could be raising pH or non-inert, then you definitely don't want that.
Dog, I did have some chicken broth today at the Thai place, but it didn't work. Problem is allergies happen after,
Yeah.
and then I fast, so I can't drink anything now. June said, "Which RO unit? Aquatic Life 5-stage?" Question.
Man, I can't think of the brand of RO unit that we're going to switch to, and it's killing me.
Is it the bulk reef one?
No, that's the one we have.
Oh, we're switching.
Yeah, the people at Aquashella, I've been
Aquafix.
Aqua FX.
That's close.
Yeah, close.
You
Aqua
wear that
FX.
shirt like every other day,
Yeah, their RO units and stuff like that. I see them at Aquashella. I've been eyeing one that's 400 gallon per day that I will be upgrading to. It's basically has everything that the bulk reef supply that we currently have has, and produces a little bit more power, and it's cheaper than going to the BRS upgraded one. So I would look up Aqua FX, but I did mention earlier that it really doesn't matter what brand of the unit that you have. It really matters what filters you've got going into them. So if you cheap out and buy the cheapest filters on eBay, you get what you pay for, and you're going to have to replace them more often and more frequently. I have gotten really lucky though and bought in some filters and from the same manufacturer sometimes and gotten really nice ones. And then the next time ordering the same ones, they came in cheap as you would expect. So it is a hit or a miss on the eBay packs. But like there's some good bundle packages out there. I've got a lot of extra pre-carbon, post-carbon, and stuff like that because we go through a lot more sediment filters.
First class fish said anything special about the shrimp salt as opposed to the much cheaper standard do it yourself mineralization or even seek him equilibrium? Thanks.
So I'm not a chemist. I haven't even thought about doing the research it requires to piece out together exactly what minerals the shrimp need, but without going into the rivers and then without taking a comprehensive data of all of the tanks that the shrimp have been in that have been like hybridizing, and when you breed a shrimp for 10 generations, it no longer is the same shrimp that it was in the wild. So the same parameters for that shrimp that's 10 gens in is going to breed in the same optimal conditions. So finding out what minerals, that's a scientific thing, and I feel like the people at Salty Shrimp have already got that figured out. They did the research, they spent the time and the money it takes to get all that down packed. And when I first got in the hobby, the very first minerals that we got were salty shrimp. It was recommended by all of the people that I looked up to when I was first in the hobby. And when I finally got things going and I had some money from selling some shrimp, and I wanted to chase what could possibly be better than salty shrimp. And I'd say after like 2 or 3 years of using everything on the market, pretty much, I was like, convinced, salty shrimp is so cheap. There's got to be something better than it, right? And by the end of it, I just found out that like salty shrimp is the most bang for your buck. There was only one mineral out there that ever came close to giving me the same results as salty shrimp, and that was the SL Aqua Blue Wizard, and they don't sell that anymore. And it's now to the point where all the products that you get that are in liquids are like watered down. You're buying water, so you might as well buy the salts and mix them yourself and save a little bit of money, because what you're doing is you're paying for water weight to be shipped to 2 or 3 locations. So you don't want to do that. Just get the salts, and it really is the most bang for your buck. I wouldn't mess around with trying to make them my own or anything like that. Uh, been down a rabbit hole just trying to find out the best salt on the market, and it ended up being the one that I was using in the beginning. So I wouldn't be selling it on our website if it wasn't the shrimp salt that I would say is the best. It's the most bang for your buck, and there's really nothing that I could say needs to be improved on it. I couldn't tell you. I'm not a chemist. I wouldn't know. It doesn't leave hard water stains. Like if somebody can make a better salty shrimp G or salty shrimp Sulawesi 8.5 mix that doesn't turn it to milk, that'd be great. But like you tell that to my to Shelby's Sulawesi shrimp, they love it. They have no problem with it. So
Welcome, Zachary Hedges, to the new to the YouTube membership. Just email us at thegardenofeater@gmail.com. I will type that in the bottom because it's much easier that way. Of eater.
but we'll get you a sticker. It is a members only sticker, holographic TGOE, and we also send you a discount code to the website, tgoeshrimp.com, that Shelby just put down in the link. And yeah, just make sure you email us so we can get that to you at thegardenofeater@gmail.com. That's what you put in the link. I have no idea. Either way, moving on. Welcome, Zachary. Is this Zachary Driftwood Zachary from the club that was next to us? I don't know. I feel like it is. I might be wrong.
Don't ask me. I'm terrible with names.
Anyways, So we talked about temperatures. Basically, if your house fluctuates a lot or doesn't stay at like 60 to 74 degrees all year round, I would get Neocaridina over the Caridina shrimp. You can invest in things like chillers and stuff. What's wrong? Did it just double post?
I don't know if we're live.
You don't know if we're live.
It's still going.
We're live. Everything's good. I think we're fine.
Okay. Well. Okay.
All right. So, yeah, basically, if you're trying to keep the AC bill down and stuff like that, I would go with Neocaridina. If you're trying to breed anything outside, stick with Neocaridina as well. Even during the winter times, as long as your ponds don't freeze over, you'll be all right. And then in the summer, as long as your water doesn't boil, you'll pretty much still be all right. I think we've lost chat. I think that's all that's happened. I don't know. Should I just keep talking? We have 83 people. Crypt
Still
Keeper's
live.
not here.
The chat is giving errors.
Oh. All right. Well, I'm just going to keep on talking then. So, after temperatures, we have. Oh, I got a text message. No, not a text message. Never mind. All right. So, after temperatures, we have color, pattern, and preference. Basically, Neocaridina limits you to very few amount of choices and options. You basically have every single color besides pink and purple, but then you don't really have a lot of patterns. You don't really have, colors on top of one another. You're basically just full yellow, red, blue, orange, snowball, and then you have the really varieties where it's clear or possibly blue. Maybe some of the new ones could have a little green coloration to them. I see that being a possibility in the future, but for the most part, that's it. You don't have more than like 30 options of Neocaridina. When we tell people we have 140 different varieties of freshwater shrimp in the house, they're like, I didn't even know there was that many. Well, if you take away Caridina, we only have like 36. We only have like 4 Silhouette. We've got the Opa Ula, and then the Machiobrachium, and then all of the Neocaridina varieties that you could possibly have. We have just very low numbers of like blue velvets and blue lilies and stuff, blue Bloody Marys. But we're working on it, building those up from scratch rather than bringing in imports or somebody else's problems into our colonies. So, excuse me. When you want to go with like something that looks as nice as this, you can go with Caridina shrimp, and you have a lot of choices between blue, red, black, purple, metallic colorations. Where Neocaridina, you're left with this, red cherry shrimp. Not a lot going on, and then basically the possibilities are endless almost with Caridina. You can also throw in orange eyes with Caridina. I know there's like some orange-eyed shrimp that are going around with Neocaridina that they say are orange eye, but if you look closely, the pupils, they are still black, or they've been photoshopped so badly it just looks like an orange eye shrimp, but it's not proper.
That person disappeared, by the way.
Yeah,
I
they
haven't
disappeared.
seen a single post from them.
Because they wanted to sell or scam people for $200 a shrimp, and nobody wanted to pay that because Neocaridina shrimp, I mean, realistically, I would pay $20 maybe a shrimp for some purples that are going to breed like 80% true that actually look purple, not like my Bloody Marys do when I turn on the lights. Like almost every single picture that somebody sends to me where it's like, oh, look at this person, they have a purple shrimp. It's like, yeah, do they have it? Or did they just turn on the lights and they took a picture? It's almost always like something I wake up to because I wake up at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And then, all of the posts blow up in the morning when the person first posts it. So that's usually when you turn on the lights, right? But
Speaking of that, real quick though,
go ahead.
Alashon says local fish store has what are labeled as gold dust shrimp. Familiar with that color?
Yeah, so those are almost always imported yellow neos, and that gold dust, that opaque, thicker shell, usually goes away with water changes. I talked with Benny Tay on this. If you get those shrimp to breed, you won't have that same coloration or that pigmentation pop up. There's something in the water in Singapore, not Singapore. I'm sorry, Benny's from Singapore, in Indonesia, that we don't test for. We don't have this certain buildup of sulfur or whatever it is that makes the shrimp have this shell thickness coloration to it. But yeah, it's almost a sure sign that the shrimp has been imported.
Yeah. And not only that, there's 24 karat, but especially even if it's not that and it's imported shrimp, a lot of importers just come up with names to make it look like it's a new shrimp in the hobby, so that people like local pet stores will buy them thinking, oh, these must be new. They do this all the time with multiple fish, shrimps, snails are like a big thing.
And it's not just the local pet stores, it's the wholesalers that are getting suckered in because they think it's something new. And anything new is pretty much going to sell and be in hot demand. So they bring it in and they're like, oh, it's the same old, but they still have to sell it as what it is.
Nate says, I have a really large, in the hundreds, tangerine tiger colony. I started from you guys a couple years back. Do they need to be cold to keep nice tiger stripes?
So they shouldn't need to be culled to keep nice tiger stripes, but you can cull them if you want more tiger stripes or thicker tiger stripes or more dots or stuff like that. What we really focus on is that orange color, and when you focus on the orange color, then everything else kind of just stays true and they look like how they properly should. You could almost like selective breed for black tiger stripes on the tangerine tigers and make them look like a tang tie. And then, like, what's the point in having your pure tangerine tiger at that point?
So, Living Dream Aquatic says, I got some baby orange-eyed blue tigers, and they all look clear, and they are very tiny. Is that normal? Also, I just got some baby pure red lines, and they already have their color. That is why I'm asking.
So crystal shrimp, they pretty much, some of them can actually look better as babies than they do as adults because all the pigment is there. And then as they grow, you can see some of the gaps in the pigments and stuff like that. They can, high grade PRLs can keep and have the nice white and nice red throughout their entire lives. Those are the ones that hold more money. With orange-eyed blue tigers, though, some of them will look blonde up until like they're 3 years old, and then all of a sudden they gain a bunch of blue and rusty coloration to them. Almost all shrimp, the Purells and some of the Tibes and some crystals, because when they're born, all the pigment's already there. Almost all shrimp gain more pigment as they grow up and as they age, will be deeper, darker in coloration. So the orange-eyed blue tigers are just like one of the worst shrimp at having almost no coloration as babies, and then as they grow up, they get some coloration here and there. It's also why I stopped selling orange-eyed blue tigers as babies because I was selling just the blue ones, and then I was selling the blondes to people, and the people that were getting the blondes were getting half and half. Some of them were being blonde as they age and grow up. The other half were turning really nice, deep and dark and blue in coloration. So the ones that were blue as babies, those are the ones that you really want to keep and use as the next generation. So the colony gets bluer and deeper and darker longer.
And Living Dream says they have Aqua FX and they love it. This is still mind-boggling to me. What is in your water to cause it to be 112 TDS with 0 kH and 0 GH?
Yeah.
Usually that's what raises it.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying if your GH and KH are 0, there's got to be something dissolved in that water, and what is it? Because that could be catastrophic, or it could have no effect whatsoever with your shrimp. But like now, how do you get your GH up to 5 or 6 without getting your total dissolved solids past 160 or 180 even? I don't think that's doable. So that's your problem.
Well, then he could do. Why didn't you just do Neos then, right? Because
No,
then you would
'cause
be
you-
able to mix it,
oh, well,
and it would be
yeah.
higher TDS,
Yeah, the
but
TDS
still
won't
be
matter. Yeah.
possible because you could still do them at 6.8.
Yeah,
So-
all you really need with the Neocaridina
You
is 5 GH. The
So
TDS
you could
doesn't
do
really
the
matter.
KHGH minerals,
Yeah.
mix it in the water, and then you could do Neocaridina.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I had to figure that out. But it's some way to do shrimp, okay?
Yeah.
Hopefully
I
there's
feel like
no
that's
other.
the water softener, and there's water softener that's whatever takes out the minerals is adding in total dissolved solid, so you have something to drink.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it's hard to test for things we don't know. Carrie asked, just got a baby blue dreams in my tanks with a few more buried females. Congrats. How many times should I be feeding daily? Have a decent amount of biofilm.
So all of our tanks we feed every other day, and we only feed once every other day. The tanks with heavy baby populations, we just feed more than the other tanks because of that biofilm and having like moss and nooks and crannies and stuff like that. Then we don't yet usually care about trying to feed powdered foods or anything like that, because we found that powdered foods will cause allergy and pollute the water and cause ammonia issues and stuff like that. And then when that happens, you start losing babies rather than keeping babies alive. So I recommend less is more, and you should have more success than feeding multiple times a day.
And then there is someone from the Massey Club. Welcome in, Training Hercules.
Look forward to seeing you on next Thursday.
This
Anybody?
Thursday?
Yes, it is this Thursday. I don't know why I thought it was Sunday. Yeah. Anybody that would like to place orders for Massey Club, it will need to be placed tonight. That way we can collect everything tomorrow night, and then we're heading up Wednesday morning to Missouri. So just put in the notes that hold for Massey Club. Our website charges $15 flat rate shipping. Of course, we will refund that. If you spend over $100, then you don't have to spend the $15 flat rate shipping.
This person asked, top fin 20 sponge filter for a 20-gallon tank sufficient for shrimp?
Yep. There's going to be something that I test here in the near future with running maybe 2 filters side by side with another tank that has only 1 filter. I might even do another tank where I run 1 filter and an extra air stone. So if you are worried about it not being enough filtration, just drop an extra air stone or something in there, and your tank will be fine. We have 20-gallon tanks in almost every room at one point, and they all had just one standard 20-gallon sponge filter on them, so it should be fine.
Ashley said, my tap water is TDS 32, pH 7, ammonia 0, nitrate 0, nitrate 0, 0 GH, 1 KH. I said that backwards.
Yeah.
GH of 1, KH of 2. I ordered salty shrimp GH, KH plus from y'all. Is there anything else I need for the green emeralds?
If you have a tank with inert substrate and a sponge filter, some plants going, and the tank has been running for 30 days, that's all you need. We do have some food on the website. I usually recommend waiting a week before feeding the food, but besides that, that is all your shrimp actually need. Is everything I just named off.
Abstract said what? Sorry.
We do have a video, everything you need to know about Neocaridina or how to breed Neocaridina shrimp. That would give you a little check off list if you just want to double check everything.
Abstract asks, Shelby, what do you feed your leopard geckos? Mainly superworms. That's what I have readily available thanks to my dad, who breeds them like crazy. Those will actually be available by the end of this month on our website for live food. That was loud, sorry if you heard that. But as you can tell in the video, they got some chunky tails. They're a little, little obese from that all that fat content from the superworms, but they're doing okay.
We can tell you watched the video all the way through that we just posted, because how else would you know that we have leopard geckos, or how would it be on your mind, right? Yeah. So for those that are watching and you didn't know that we posted a video this week, we went through and toured out all the aquariums in the bedroom. We gave you one last look. Of course, the leopard geckos are part of that. So if you're curious about our leopard geckos, they make a star appearance. Have they been in any other videos?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I brought them on the live stream.
All right. So
you can hear me screaming in the background.
Maybe
Rex
not their debut, but you know they're definitely different from what we're used to posting. But they're at the end of the video, so we can tell who watched and who didn't all the way through.
Yeah, that bug is really bothering me. I'm missing a lot of the chat. So if we did skip your question or I missed it, please retype it. We did not mean to. Shady Grady said, I have a well-established tank of painted red Neocaridina shrimp. After 5 years, I have never seen a really shrimp. Could I ever expect them? I hardly ever get a cull, maybe 1 in 50.
Yeah, absolutely. You can have yellow King Kongs breeding for years, and then all of a sudden a really pop out. And the same people that you sold yellow King Kongs to and the people you got yellow King Kongs from never got a really. So it's definitely a mutation that can pop out not just in shrimp, but in isopods as well. I think there's other crustaceans that could possibly have it too. I'm not sure if it's something in crawfish or not, but yeah.
Fisk did say that the local shop near him has carbons that are developing a clear porthole through their heads. Like a pattern. That's so weird.
We have some red cherries that also throw some coals that have that too. It's just like a pattern or a splotch in the head that needs color just like anything else. So
yeah, Jenna P says, sounds like they're using the same trick people do with lights for boost pictures. So you know what's interesting is that there is like a different in coloration from different water parameters from overseas, and we've noticed it in competitions. Like we could tell the difference between homebred and something from overseas because of the coloration of the shrimp. You cannot achieve that here, and we don't know why, whether it's different mineral content that they have there and we just don't have it. But that shrimp is 100% different than what we can ever breed here. So it's a little different than the boost chicken pictures. I know those are all over there for sure. Or unless you're talking about the orange-eyed Neocaridina, then yes, that could be it too. Some people do that with the shrimp all the time.
Yeah. The trick with the boost is just using the purple lights on top. Purple and red lights.
Richard saw an iguana.
Saw an iguana? Not that impressed with iguanas. They're all over the place when we're down in Florida. I want chameleons. Pretty much that's it. Oh, tegu. Tegu would be cool. Or a monitor. I'll take either of those. Can't take them, but
Abstract says, how long does it take for Aurora Blues to grow? They're showing a lot of red in them.
Where'd you get your Aurora Blues from, my friend? Andrew Wayne, possibly? There shouldn't be any red in them. There should be there is a possibility that some of them come out all red with no blue in them at all. But they do grow really slow. Like Aurora Blues are like one of the shrimp where I sell maybe 20 to 40 of them a year, even though I have 4 tanks of them breeding. actually only like 2 tanks of them are actually breeding, and then 2 tanks are just like surviving basically. So they're just a fickle line. They're hard to get going.
Passing winds at 3 years old. How long does shrimp live?
My oldest shrimp is like 6.5 years. It was a Caridina shrimp. I don't think I've cared about a Neocaridina shrimp that long to pay attention. So maybe one day I'll find out.
Kobe said, "Why do blue bowls change color so much? Mine grow from the deepest rich blue to the palest whitest blue sometimes."
It's just that's what they do. It's
Terrible.
whether it's stress or water parameters. I don't think anybody has a reason, but
Diet could also
they
be a thing.
they're just moody. One day they can look deep dark blue, and the next day they can have a blue head, and the rest of the body will be nice and white. And it was a dragon that I chased for a long time. Now what I do is I just basically cull the ones that have any white that shows for a long period of time. If one's white one day and flip flops to blue the next, I don't really cull those or pay much attention to them. But it's just a blue Tai bee, Taiwan bee trait altogether. The Taiwan shadow pandas can do this as well. So they're just fickle.
Training Hercules, welcome to becoming a YouTube member. Can you? I'm gonna message you that one. I'll just bring it to the meeting. I'll bring your sticker and your membership info, so I don't have to mail it out to you.
They're also placing an order tonight. If you just want to remember that.
Oh.
If you just want to email us at thegardenofeater@gmail.com, I can send you the membership code so you can get that 10% off before you place your order. So just something to think about.
Thank you.
Yeah, much appreciated. Welcome to the team, and we'll make sure you get the sticker though for sure.
And Ruben in the house. So I need one of those hats so I can represent with a TGOE shirt. We are sold out of the hats.
Unless you're, I know you're a big boy when it comes to the t-shirts, but like maybe if you're a normal size head, then maybe I got you. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe I only have one large left. There's one hat left, I believe. I don't know. I think there's one hat left in stock on the website. So if there's not, you gotta take it off. But the only reason why we were out of hats is because there's something we want to do with the logo, and I don't know. I haven't given Harley a phone call. There's several things I want to talk to Harley about, and I think that's one of the reasons. I never have time to talk about all of them. So it's probably something I should just hit him up and like, hey, let's focus on this, and then I'll call you next week and we'll focus on the next thing. Because we want to have a scape competition. I want to have a giveaway of P&W tanks. We got to get some tanks for Keystone Clash. Unless he's going to be there, then I'm not taking up space to bring his tanks.
Anthony asks, Grant, are blue carbon relays Caridina or Neos?
Those are a Neocaridina branched off of the chocolate or black rose line. So if you get your black rose breeding, there's a good chance you'll get some carbon relays out of those. Or blue diamonds.
Yeah.
Get out of here. I wanted to say
okay,
that.
Goodbye.
Oh, I need you.
Lefty said, what can you tell me about the Rudolph shrimp?
Oh, I can tell you a lot. We don't have time. No, I'll get into it. All right, there's no time for drinking. No time for drinking, I said. All right.
Second stream in a row.
That one, though, you didn't get bumped. So we've got lots to talk about. The Rudolph shrimp are what known for as the algae-eating shrimp. But as far as I'm concerned, they don't eat any more algae than any other shrimp. What happens is a lot of time people are like, oh, I'm getting a new kind of shrimp to the tank. I'm going to start taking care of it as a shrimp tank, and I'm going to do a massive water change before I get these shrimp. And what happens is a lot of the algae ends up dying, and the shrimp will eat the algae as a food source. Unless the algae is dying, though, the shrimp will not eat it. So if the hair algae is thriving and growing, the Rudolph shrimp are just going to disappear in that mess. Maybe get tangled up and die. The other thing is they are a 2-stage shrimp. In order for them to produce babies, these shrimp need to flow out of the river into brackish or saltwater conditions where they eat certain phytoplankton, and then they go through a metamorphosis stage and they morph into their full adult babies and not babies but versions of the adults that they were born from, and they have enough strength to make their way upriver.
Welcome to the YouTube membership, Scott Williams. I did just put the email in chat. Email us and with your address and your name, and we will send your membership sticker out. We include a holographic membership only sticker. Am I forgetting something? And your membership discount.
Someone threw me off. I was like, I don't know who you're forgetting. I think we did both of these people.
Thank
but I
you
see
so much,
SC.
Scott Williams.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome to the team. I see SC Catahulas in chat though, and I've got to ask, how are those shrimp doing? You got babies yet? What's going on? The pressure's on me for you to get me those shrimp, so I need to know. All right. Should I go back to back to you?
Cora said, I know you focus on freshwater. Where would you recommend we learn about salty shrimps?
To be honest, I couldn't recommend anywhere because I just don't know anywhere. I've never really seen anybody out there that is breeding them or taking care of them. If Harley from PNW Customs is in here, the only other salty person I know of is Gina. So if she's in chat, maybe she can recommend somebody. Do you know anyone salty that does shrimp?
No, not anyone that actually breeds them. From what I know, a lot of people just import them, so I don't know anyone that actually breeds any of them.
I do know that the sexy shrimp are able to be bred, the peppermint shrimp are able to be bred in captivity, but I think it's like a lot of work to do the peppermint shrimp, and they're cheap. They're easy to collect. The sexy shrimp might be worth it, but I don't know anybody that's doing it.
Guilty Creek said, the black rose you just sent me recently exploded. I've spotted a red baby or two. You've talked some on it tonight, but will you talk about the line's genetics or culling / maintaining that line?
So life is like a box of chocolates. You never really know what you're going to get. The black rose come from chocolates. They're just basically a higher grade chocolate shrimp. So the brown pigment got so deep and dark that it just overlapped into a black. So out of the black rose, you will get chocolates, and you will get everything that the chocolate line can produce. So you can get orange, yellow, green. I don't get a lot of yellows or orange out of our line. We do get quite a few greens. We get quite a few blues and quite a few reds. The blues will be blue diamonds. The reds will be Bloody Marys. The greens, I don't know if those are how you make green emeralds, or if that's originally a way to make green jades. I have no clue. Maybe somebody can make a whole different line of greens altogether. I got a feeling though that they're going to be throwing a lot of black offspring and stuff like that as well. So, but our line does produce more than 50% black rose, which is uncommon because most of the time it's like 80% culls on a black rose line. So they do throw a lot of different mixed match shrimp, and then even some are low grade. They kind of look like wilds. Definitely cull those, get them out of there.
Thank you so much, $5 for the $5 super chat. DJ Owen said, when you guys sell your mealworms, what quantity will you sell them at? Also, are you selling the dried dead mealworms as well? So I will be selling super worms. So a little bit different than mealworms because mealworms give impactions to leopard geckos. So they are a little bit more fatty than the mealworms are. And I could do dried superworms as well, which would be a good little grinded up snack you could do but not as good as mealworms.
And you don't need to do dried. You can do live superworms for feeding your cichlids.
Yeah, like Oscars and stuff.
Yeah.
But some people usually have medium-sized fish, so the superworms get a little big. Also have like I don't know what it's called, but there's like shedding and stuff that my dad has that they sell really well. So that's also a good possibility for fish food too. And quantity wise, I have probably thousands. So it depends on which size you want. I think we're only equipped right now to sell like 100 containers because I think that's what my dad has ready. Uh, but we could figure out a way to do $1,000. So
It'd probably be 100, 500, and 1,000 if we can
Yeah.
get that arranged. 100 would be perfect for somebody that had a few cichlids or maybe a musk turtle or something like that. 500 would be for somebody that has chameleons or something like that.
First class said, I think the green leaf algae eating shrimp I asked about may be the same as the Rudolph. What is the Latin name? I've never heard of the green leaf. Did you?
No.
There's so many random shrimp that most people don't, breed or have.
I don't know the Latin name to most of the shrimp that I keep. I'm sorry.
It's that one we were talking about the other day.
Yeah.
That it's just like a false amano. Like no one, there's not much information on it, so we've never tried to have them. There's no reason.
But it's not the same.
have them.
If that
No,
answers
yeah,
your
it's
question.
two different ones, and I don't know if it had. From what I know, it doesn't actually have a Latin name. It's just Caridina SP or something like that. From everywhere I read, like
Yeah,
Dan's Fish doesn't even have information, and they go deep into their information and actually know
it might be unclassified. Nobody's really done research on it. It's just needs to be done still. Back to chat or back to me?
I have other questions if you want.
Yeah, hit it.
Okay. I know Alex asked whenever lost it. What is the shrimp that can tolerate the hottest water? Suluese?
So Sulueses can tolerate like up to 85 degrees. I don't know if they can go higher, and I wouldn't risk my Suluese shrimp doing that to them because they are so fragile. Neocaridinas I've had in 90-degree water, no problem. So I've also heard of people keeping them in South Florida where the water temperatures get hotter and warmer than my ponds do. So above 93 degrees is probably possible with Neocaridina, where I wouldn't risk with Suluese shrimp.
Abstract said, "Have you ever seen a brown Rilly? Somehow I got one in my red Rilly tank."
I mean, I've seen like a maroon or junky looking colored Rillies come out of the wild tanks and stuff like that. It's not unheard of.
Night Owl says, "Green emeralds or green jade? Which are greener? Which do you have to cull less?"
Green emeralds are darker, generally speaking, but they can look exactly the same as some green jades. Green emeralds are the ones you have to cull less. If you want to know more, though, one of our best videos that we have going is the green jades versus green emerald video. Covers everything in about like 7 or 8 minutes. So gives great examples, photos, or video footage of each. But yeah, definitely one of my favorite shrimp, though. Both of them, because of green. What's up, Vibes? The $1.99 super chat. Here, lurking, water changes. Usually what I'm doing
Thanks, Vibes.
when I'm watching other people's channels.
Yeah, usually. Coro said that we should do the black soldier fly cultures. I think that's what my dad was also thinking about doing. I don't do any personally. I don't have time to do what I have to do already. So
maybe one day we'll have a
eventually.
bug room, like a bug house, and we'll do all of this. And I don't know, maybe one of the kids, it'll be their chore every other day to go into the room and take care of everything. But we've got our hands full. It's something that we can source for the time being.
Chillerman said, "I have a Bloody Mary tank that threw a few orange shrimp that molt clear like the Bloody Marys. If I breed them out 7 generations, do I get the right to name them Mimosa shrimp?" It's a good name for them.
The orange would have to be like slightly different than like the orange pumpkin shrimp and stuff like that, because I don't technically know where the orange shrimp come from. If they come from the Bloody Mary line, or which would come from black rose as well. I'm not sure there.
Shady Grady said, "This question is for Shelby. Do you ever feed fruit flies to your Achilles fish? How do you do this? I'm having problems trying to get them from the container to the mouths of these fish. I think I would struggle quite a bit, but the flightless fruit flies would be the way to go. And yes, you would have to have plenty of room to get it in. And what I probably killed a lot of my fruit flies back when I was feeding my dark frogs because you have to open it up real quick and then close it, and then some of them unfortunately die. But usually that culture produces so much that you have to feed them off anyways, or it's gonna crash real hard.
What I recommend doing is get flightless fruit flies, pour them into a cup with a little bit of RO water, and then make it spin in the water so you get the fruit flies a little dizzy and disoriented, and then put them into the tank. And then I think some of them would actually go under the water tow and actually get eaten.
Floating though.
You just want them wiggling as long as they're alive. So if some of them go down, those ones will probably get sniped by the hungrier fish a lot quicker. And then as they rise to the top, they'll be trying to get their wits about them, and that's when they should get sniped off. The trick here is not overfeeding. You overfeed, then you got fruit fly problem.
This is so cool that we finally can see this. You know what? It's funny. The chat stops working when they fix this problem, finally, that we can see member chats. We could never see those before. Brandon says, member for 14 months, which we need to talk about that on the stream tonight, too. Which is better, Airheads Extreme or Harbo Sours? I can't pronounce that.
Harbo.
Harbo. You're asking the wrong person. That's
the sour gummy bears for sure. I'm not saying I don't love me some Airheads, but yeah.
You ate those sour gummy bears like Noah.
I would eat a pack a day for like every day during paintball season for sure.
And watching him eat candy makes me sick to my stomach. So I don't like candy. So either one of those sound awful.
The ultimate sour candy, though, are the mango strips from Buc-ee's. I haven't found anything more sour or better tasting ever. And if you save the sour sugar at the bottom and you pour it over some grapes with a little bit of lime juice the next day, it's like 10 times better of a snack than you would have ever thought.
Coro, member for 4 months. Thank you. Says, wait. So who wins in a fight, Caridina or Neocaridina?
I think it depends on the type of shrimp because I don't think anything's going to take down a Stardust or a raccoon shrimp. But like I would say most Neocaridinas would win the fight over like say Calcios or Super Crystals. And
now, if you put them in the same
Aurora
tank
Blues,
and you want them to fight, honestly, it depends on the water parameters. Most likely, the Neocaridina will outbreed the Caridina.
Tell that to the Stardust and Tangerine Tigers, though. Like those put up a good fight.
Red Cherry against Stardust, though. We'd have to experiment. So, like, maybe that's a future video and see which one. But one of them most likely will start to outbreed the other one and start to take the colony over unless we move it into a bigger tank. So maybe we'll try 55 or something. But you'd have to add equal amounts first at the same time.
I think the problem with Caridina is the male survival rate starts to go up where the female survival rate is what takes a hit. And then you get less breeding because you have more males. So if you stay on top of culling the males out of the Caridina, they stand a better chance.
Anthony says, my black rose tank is about 18 total shrimp and 67 to 68 degrees. Should I add a small heater to get babies to get more shrimp?
I wouldn't add a heater. You're better off like adding a different type of heat source, like putting it close to a computer tower or something like that. That area just stays warmer, near a light or something like that. Adding a heater to a tank that small, any kind of malfunction with the heater. You're just asking for boiled shrimp or something like that. So I would avoid it. 67 degrees, you're still going to get breeding and stuff like that. And 80 degrees, you're going to get more breeding and faster reproduction, but you risk that heater. You can use a thermostat. So if you want to do a heater and a thermostat, you can run that route. It's just not necessarily needed. You would get more shrimp.
First class fish. Sorry to confuse you, but the Rudolph and the green leaf algae eating shrimp, two different shrimp. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry. And the one that Dan has is the green algae eating shrimp, leaf shrimp, and that's the false amano shrimp. So it looks just like one.
All right, back to the topic at hand. So we went over color, temperature, starting price, and water parameters. Now let's talk about, well, maybe you're just looking for a challenge. You want to mess with genetics, or you're looking for something that's out of the norm, different realm. I would definitely go with Caridina shrimp over the Neocaridina. With Neocaridina, you can't really crossbreed. You can't really do a lot of the fun combinations like you can with Caridina shrimp. With Caridina shrimp, I had mentioned the possibilities for color combinations and patterns and stuff like that. It really is endless. You've got so many different possibilities that haven't been conquered yet, with the orange eyes, with hollow eyes, with all different kinds of variations to come with morphs in the future and stuff like that. Yeah, possible morphs and stuff like that are possible with Neocaridina, but it's way more possible and likely that you're going to get something like that with Caridina shrimp. So if you're looking for a challenge or you want to play with color, genetics, or something like that, definitely go with Caridina. So some of the options have been definitely go with Neocaridina. This is a slot towards Caridina.
Just a stupid question. What's better, high cheese or Laffy Taffy?
High chews.
All the way. I will agree with that. If I'm gonna have candy, high cheese.
Yeah.
For sure.
Not saying I don't love some watermelon, sour apple, Laffy Taffy,
Sorry.
but
I'll
the
take
same
high cheese
flavor
over.
high chew would
Yeah.
be better.
Always gonna choose. Like if they're in front of me, I'm gonna choose the high chew. I know it's on point.
Yeah. All right. Now, let's change it up. Let's stop thinking about the shrimp for once. Let's think about, let's say, snails. You want some snails in the tank? Well, if you're going to keep Caridina shrimp, the only real snail choice that you have are going to be Malaysian trumpet snails. You can keep pond snails and bladder snails and some ram's horn snails and stuff like that. But for the most part, the ram's horns, they just melt and deteriorate. There are a few people in the hobby that keep rabbit snails with their Caridina shrimp, but the shell quality is just not always there. They don't grow as fast. I don't think they have nearly as much breeding and everything like that. And so if you're wanting rabbits or mystery snails, even the new turbo snails or something like that, I would definitely go with Neocaridina shrimp over Caridina because of the low pH, which melts the snail shells. Um, and then, depending on if you want to keep certain nano fish or something else like that, that really is going to depend on what parameter the fish are. But there are a lot more options for Neocaridina for nano fish out there than Caridina shrimp. Some nano fish have to have Caridina parameters, but very few and far between. Most of them can go well in neutral parameters.
Abstract said, "How much flow is the proper flow for your shrimp in a tank? Is there such thing as too much?"
I don't think there's such thing as too much flow. You're just going to have the problem with your intake could possibly have so much suction that the baby shrimp and stuff like that get stuck to the sides of it. What's wrong?
Just hearing you say that.
I have no idea what's wrong with you.
A lot of things. We don't have time, Grant.
We don't. So you definitely want to worry about the intake being a problem, but Yeah, I think a lot of these shrimp in the wild are in high flow little streams, creeks, rivers, and stuff like that. So I don't think flow is an issue. But at the same time, I don't think it's a necessity. There's a lot of tanks that have no flow in our house because of the plants and because of the way the filters are. Some of them, the bubbles go straight up and they don't create any real flow in the tank. So I don't think it's needed. Nothing to really worry about. All right. So tank mates might not be a real issue or anything to worry about if you're just keeping an all shrimp tank. But what else are you going to keep in the tank if you're not going to keep snails or anything like that? You got to have some plants, right? Majority of the plants that I keep, they just do better in our Caridina tanks. The softer water, the acidic um, humus and stuff like that that's leaching out. The ash, the volcanic ash, is just constantly leaching nutrients into the water. Our mosses, Anubis, Boost, just about all of the plants that we love to keep in our shrimp tanks. They just thrive and do better in the Caridina tanks, and keeping the right light and fertilizers and stuff like that just kind of grows more. Um, Algae in the Neocaridina tank. So when it comes to having a nice planted tank, as long as you set it up first and you don't have to worry about moving or trimming plants or anything like that afterwards, I would go with the Caridina tank if you are focusing on plants as a side hustle in the aquarium.
Lady Diane saying seed shrimp in my Neo tank is okay.
Seed shrimp is generally one of those things that I look for as a sign of the tank has a good cycle going to it. And then, like, if you look at most of our tanks that have a real good, robust population, majority of them have a good population of seed shrimp as well. So it's perfectly okay. I like as much biodiversity as I possibly can inside one tank without them affecting the numbers of one another. So the seed shrimp, if you don't like them, simply reduce the amount of food you're feeding in the aquarium, and the seed shrimp pretty much disappear. But in most shrimp tanks, they'll never go away completely. There'll always be some type of seed shrimp in the aquarium. And the magical thing about seed shrimp is you can set up a tank with inert substrate, water, and a filter, brand new, all clean, never been used. And seed shrimp can appear in that tank because they call them seed shrimp because the eggs can become airborne and go from one tank to another via airs like spores. And once they hit water, they become active and the eggs start to hatch. Nothing? We're all caught up in chat?
Yeah, it only took me an hour and 20 minutes.
All right. So the last thing on my list to consider, maybe we'll have some more questions out there, or somebody will bring up something that me and Shelby didn't think about. But pretty much last thing to consider is profit. Neocaridina, the demand is out there, and you can definitely make more money at overall selling Neocaridina shrimp than you can Caridina. But let's say you only have a small space and you're limited to maybe 4 aquariums. You can definitely make more money doing some higher end Caridina shrimp than you can do 4 tanks of Neocaridina. So you had 4 tanks of emeralds, which are the $6 Neocaridina shrimp. You can have 1 tank with Galaxy Pintos and sell a couple of the Galaxies for $100 each and make more money than selling 100 of the emeralds. So the profit and stuff like that, it's definitely doable for both varieties. It's just really how much space do you have. If you've got an endless amount of space and you can do it outside, go Neocaridina. If you're limited to just 1 tank inside and you're trying to make some side money or you're in a college dorm or something like that, I would probably invest in some higher grade Galaxy Pintos and try to focus and just sell McCulls for cheap and keep the higher end as nice Galaxy Pintos you could possibly have, and then sell the ones in between for a good amount of money.
said, speaking of seed shrimp, what's the best way to catch some to seed a brand new tank faster?
So pretty much I would just overfeed a tank and then, wait for the seed shrimp to come out and then just siphon some water out. You're not really going to be able to catch them pretty well with a net, but water flow,
You could with the really thin nets that we have.
yeah, but you're going to catch a lot of debris and stuff like that too. Or I think the easiest way is just to take some little hose and siphon some water out and transfer it over. But like you really don't need to seed. If you just leave the lid off, there's seed shrimp will get from one tank to another. You just be patient. Most of the time, within 30 days, there's seed shrimp in our tanks without us adding anything from one tank to another.
And we have lids.
Yeah, it's crazy.
First Class Fish says, are scuds a big problem for keeping high shrimp populations? I know there are different scuds, but figured I'd ask.
Yeah, another one of our best videos that we have out there are scuds are not shrimp safe. So male scuds really aren't going to be a problem. It's the females. They have such a quick turnover rate where they're producing so many babies that they get a craving for protein or just low nutrition in general. And a quick snack is going to be baby shrimp, and they will go after the baby shrimp in order to feed that craving. So if you've got boas and you've got scuds in the tank, probably better off setting up a whole new tank before the scuds eat one of your $100 boa babies. With a robust population of red cherries, you might not notice that the scuds are eating any of your babies. But if you're worried about profit and selling and the highest percentage baby survival rate out there, the scuds are going to be competing for your same food source as your baby shrimp. So, one way or another, they're affecting your baby's survival rate.
Richard is culturing scuds with his moina outside.
Well, remind me about that, and I don't want those. I can get you scuds by just taking any of our guppy grass from outside. They've populated our guppy population, keeps the numbers down, but they're definitely in there.
Ashley wanted to say thank you to both of you. I have learned so much in the last couple months and can't wait to get my green emeralds. Y'all are amazing and have opened the shrimp obsession to me. So glad to hear. Awesome.
Yeah. Definitely glad over a few months you're able to learn a lot. And we try to make every live stream, and like we got orders out today, and then we're just thinking like, all right, what is going to be worthy of doing a live stream on that you guys are actually going to learn something on? And it's getting kind of hard because we covered so many topics, and I thought I had a great topic, and I'm like, I did that 3 months ago, Shelby. We can't do that. Hold on. So appreciate it.
Carrie Britton says, what are boas?
Boas are pretty much the highest grade of galaxy pintos out there. There are pythons, but like the definition of a python hasn't really been described, and I've never really seen people post like pythons too often. If you go to our YouTube page and you see our YouTube shorts, we just did Shelby just did a dandelion video, and the very first shrimp you see is the boa. So it's basically like a boa constrictor has the splotchy pigmentation pattern. The galaxy pintos, the spots on the head, basically either morphed together or got so big through selective breeding that they produce a different pattern. So instead of a galaxy pinto, it is now called a boa. So.
Brandon says, I think the highest demand shrimp I see is Neoparameter orange eye blue tigers. People want orange eye blue tigers, but especially pH 7+ bred. They just breed so incredibly slow that it's just people are going to lose interest if they try to do it that way. I've never seen anyone actually successfully keep them in a higher pH. Really?
Eric
and he breeds them fast?
But he has a 55-gallon tank with like 6 times overfiltration or something like that. I will say this though, those might be in demand, but for every person that wants orange eye blue tigers and neoparameters, there's 10 people with a tank of neocaridinas already going. So the demand is way higher for neocaridina, period. But I would say orange eye blue tigers altogether are the highest demand shrimp besides crystal shrimp. Crystal shrimp are going to be higher demand. Crystal shrimp and red cherries are the two gateway shrimp into the hobby.
KJE says scuds are valuable to some for
Yeah.
fish food, but I'm not even allowed to bring them inside. It probably would spread to another tank. I know myself. Can't even feed the fish without getting some fish food in some of the other tanks. So Nathan said, I don't know if you watched Zeno's last video, but he had a planaria and size, I believe, in a shrimp tank and was having issues removing them. What would be what your suggestions be?
No, I have not seen the video. We have a video on killing planaria in a shrimp tank. We use no planaria. I actually scored some no planaria at the Pasco.
Scuds probably just probably autocorrected.
I just scored some no planaria at the last Pasco club. If it is scuds and not sice, I don't even know what those are.
Right, I think it's scuds.
If it's scuds, no planaria is not going to fix it. Like scuds and you have shrimp in the tank, really the only solution is to manually catch them suckers. I recommend doing it right when you turn on the lights. It kind of like scares them, just like a coolie loach. If you've ever seen one of those, when you turn on the lights, like, I don't know, before the sun turns up, they just get all energetic and zigzag all over the aquarium. Scuds will do that for a very short amount of time. And if you can catch them doing that right as they leave the moss or something like that, be resilient with it, do it every single day, and you can get the scuds out of the aquariums. We got them out of 55s, 10s, 20s. We had scuds in quite a few tanks before I found out that they were a problem. And there's also people, if you go to the scud video, there's people that claim that the scuds will eat their baby fry as well, and not just shrimp. So I don't have any personal experience with that. We have, though, seen a scud eating a shrimp. But before I could get the camera out and focused on it, the thing was gone and I couldn't find it again.
Yep, and planaria is the arrowhead worm.
Yeah.
Just to put that out there. KJE says, folks, forget, so redoing a topic is okay. Now, the only other one I was thinking about redoing is nano fish and fish that you can keep with shrimp, because a lot of people still keep asking.
I'm all down for refreshers, just not 3 months apart. Like,
Chattanooga Ed, did you really notice your shirt by just the tip of the angelfish? Or
did
you back up?
I backed up like this.
Okay.
You can read it.
I was like,
I actually
no
picked
way.
this shirt because I was gonna pick another shirt, but it's down here, and I'm like, nobody's even ever gonna see it. So I was like, no, this shirt's perfect. So and it's a great shirt. I've actually thought about going to Reef Stock just to go see you.
Be out of topics. Time to switch business models. No more shrimp. Start breeding puffers. No, it's just thinking of a good one. Like, we could sit here and talk shrimp all day.
Well, can I talk about that topic for an hour? That is also the question. Yeah. Is it something that interests me that I'm not going to be and spacing and just trying to I don't know.
Puffers, but puffers only get you so far too. You know, you gotta go. We had puffers.
And here's the thing. I'm all for, in the future, this channel being morphed to where you barely ever hear about shrimp, or a topic is 1 out of 10 is shrimp. But we're not experts on anything else. I can honestly say I'm a master shrimp breeder. I know that term can be thrown around lightly, but if you want to go, you need 10,000 hours before you're a master. Well, if you think I've been putting 5 hours a day in for the last 5 to 10 years, yeah, I think I put in the 10,000 hours of work. And if you cross that from 1 tank to 150 tanks to 500 aquariums, eventually, the amount of hours and work that we put into these things, I can say we're shrimp masters.
Nathan said he's using talk to text. Zenzo's video, that's what it is. From and scuds. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Scuds is a problem, because if you want to remove scuds out of a shrimp tank, anything that kills scuds is also going to kill your baby shrimp. They're the same thing, just different body
Good.
styles, you know.
And when you're getting new plants, because like a lot of people get confused with like selling their plants with scuds on it. Most people should be quarantining their plants and taking care of it. I think if you were to put the scuds in just hydrogen peroxide with the plant, would it not kill the scuds?
So it scuds are super resilient, and I find that scuds can survive like 3 to 4 days in a dose of no planaria or hydrogen peroxide. The problem is the amount of lethal dose that you need to kill scuds most of the time also does damage to the plants. So what we found between dosing alum, uh, bleach, peroxide, rubbing alcohol, no planaria is like the best thing. And like we have one thing that we've thought of that I don't want to spoil or do anything, but there's possibility like we're going to be testing something all natural that could maybe not be as risky as no planaria or some of the other things, but like this might kill worms, but I don't know if it's going to kill scuds. Like no planaria after a 5-day dose though will kill scuds. And I managed to get a pack for just $5 at our local swap meet this last weekend. So got that and some bulbitis. And I got Shelby's parents some magenta mystery snails and Shelby an avocado tree and called it a day. It was a good little swap meet. So
Yeah, I'm super excited. My dad's got mystery snail eggs, so let's hope for. They got nursery tanks and everything for him, so I'm super excited. They're super happy. Um, Abstract Aquarius said, "Do you sell scuds? Want to put a bunch in my turtle tank so they can be part of the cleanup crew."
So I don't sell any scuds. I have been known if you put in a nice order and you put in the notes that you ask for scuds, I can get you a handful. But like, don't ask me to chase down 20 to 30 scuds. Like, it's going to take more time out of me to catch those than it is to catch any Neocaridina shrimp that I'm making $3 a piece for. I'm not saying that I won't do it for people. It's just like I'm not trying to get 20 or 30 of them out of a pond. It'll take me. I'll be sweating.
It's hot.
Yeah. So, but what I do recommend is purchasing some guppy grass off of our website. It's from our ponds outside. I have it in the notes that it's not recommended to be put just into a shrimp tank because it does have scuds. It could also have dragonfly larvae and other stuff like that too. So it could have some rice fish too. There's a possibility. But yeah, that's how I'd recommend getting some scuds off of me.
Ashley said, "Does no planaria kill anything else besides planaria? Some snails and your beneficial bacteria? Question mark, like other worms or pests?"
Yeah, so basically it kills off all single-celled organisms. So beneficial bacteria, it can do some harm to it. What we recommend is dosing the no planaria at nighttime, right when the sun goes down. Turn off all the lights in the house. Make sure that light doesn't penetrate the no planaria itself. It will start breaking down the compound that kills the worms right away. So dosing at night, and then the next morning once the sun starts to rise, we do a 90% water change to get the poison out, and it prevents it from killing off all of the beneficial bacteria. It will kill some off, but it usually doesn't kill it all to the point where it starts a whole new cycle. But it will kill a lot of snails. Some of the adults might survive, or some of the smaller juvenile ones, but pretty much what it doesn't kill is snail eggs. So it's not like a solution to get rid of your snails in your tank. It will kill hydra though, so that is super beneficial, and it can also kill leeches as well. But like if you're using it to kill off your other worms, like detritus and stuff like that, you're not really gonna have that as a cure-all. They're gonna come back. Like those are just a part of a shrimp tank. If you overfeed at all, and it's almost going to happen every time you feed, some of the food is going to get down into the substrate and break down. That is going to cause some detritus. And just like the seed shrimp, those can be carried from one tank to another through the air. So You don't even have to have it exposed. We had a really nasty review on our website because somebody, their first shrimp tank, accused us of our moss, you know, infesting their tank with seed shrimp and worms. And it's like, well, you probably just noticed that the same time you added the moss, and it's gonna happen when you don't have fish in the tank to eat them. So
Cora said, would a bottle trap work for scuds? I use that to get small groups of shrimp, and if you made the hole small enough, the shrimp wouldn't fit.
So here's my thing about the traps: is yeah, it can work, but you're never gonna get all of them. And the trap doesn't work nearly as effectively as just taking a really fine net and every morning when you turn the lights on, just catch as many as you can. I promise you, if you do that for like 2 weeks straight, you'll get all the scuds. And it's going to take some time, but like it's definitely doable. And you'll get more scuds every day than you will trying to take your bottle trap out. And it's a lot less work just catching them with the net than it is using a bottle trap. I promise you. I tried it.
Adam said, question about the isopods. Can they explode in population? I don't know much about them at all. So I'm assuming you're talking about the aquatic isopods. Um, they have exploded in tanks, and then they kind of disappear sometimes, and they come out at different times of the day. Especially if you have a lot of wood or plants. They love moss, and they will burrow themselves into it, but they do breed pretty fast. It's just sometimes you're looking at the tank and you're like, where did they all go? Because they're really tiny. Usually they're burrowed into they burrow into substrate too. Because I know in our, is it a green emerald tank?
Yeah.
Yeah, green emerald tank. Like, I don't see them most of the time. And then some days I'll see 100 of them on the glass. And I'm like, where did all these come from? So they do explode quite a bit. They are still a mystery to us too.
But here's the thing about detritus worms, seed shrimp, and even the isopods. If you have an explosion and you don't like them and you want them gone, stop overfeeding and they'll go away. Same with the Malaysian trumpet snails. It's same with a lot of the things. Even your shrimp. If you get too infested with a shrimp, stop feeding them. They'll eat each other. They'll take care of the problem. And I know KJ. I'm Keith. I'm not an expert. I'm tooting my own horn really here more than anything. I just feel more comfortable talking about shrimp than other puffer fish and stuff like that. I can't even get pea puffers to breed in the hot tub. So.
Oh, this is nice to hear. Shady Grady says, I have something great to tell you. At our local aquarium swap meet in Cape Cod this weekend, I had one of your TGOE hats on, and I was amazed at how many recognized your live stream. You're loved by many. That makes my day so much. Like, it's so cool. Like, when people come up to me and they're like, I had one person at Aquashella, I mean, their face just lit up and was, like, grinning from ear to ear. And I'm just like, I'm just a lame person. Like, like the fact that they were so excited to meet us, it made my whole week. Like, I didn't shut up about it at work. Like, you could probably ask all my coworkers. They just want me to shut up about it.
And like I love to hear that, but like also what gets me is when we were just at a swap meet this weekend, and the day before that we posted one of our videos, and we don't post videos that regularly or anything like that, but I had a couple of the old timers, like the old guys that you wouldn't expect to be on YouTube or active or anything like that, go, saw the house, saw you're moving the new rack, looks real good. I really liked all the different varieties of shrimp, and it just makes me real happy when I see the old timers are watching and paying attention.
Especially
And when they tell me they're proud of me, it makes me
long.
It makes me feel great. Especially Bill Shields, he's the legend. He's my true OG.
Yeah, when we came into the hobby, it was just like we had babies in our arms, and like people were like, you don't have high hopes for some people. They just kind of like we've seen so many people come and go and disappear from the hobby. I mean, they'll build up like a huge rack, so it's nice to like stick with something and then be able to like prove people like, yeah, we enjoy this, and like they support us since day one. You know, like just I'm rambling.
They had their doubts, but
It's okay. I mean, anyone could have doubts about anything. Jeff Kane did say a strong salt dip will kill scuds.
I also found that a strong salt dip will also do a lot of harm to the plants. So
That's something we gotta test out.
Yeah.
We just gotta infest some nice guppy grass with some scuds, or just bring it from outside.
And I don't know about the salt dip thing being that much of an issue for scuds, because I know scuds that can live in like heavily brackish salty water too.
Oh, yeah.
So
It depends on the type of scud, though. Right? Because those, man, the scuds in the salty swamps here.
Maybe that's something we got to test out.
They look like freaking natures.
We need to get to the point where everything else is running self-sufficient, and then we have a lab that we can just test things all the time.
Stephen P. said, didn't Tim kill his scuds blasting them with CO2?
But if there's shrimp in the tank, though, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
You'd have to remove all of the shrimp.
You blast the CO2, you're also going to kill off your shrimp. If there's babies, if everything's fully colonized in there, it's going to take a lot of time to either. What's going to be worse? Honestly, I'd rather catch all the scuds than catch all the baby shrimp. So I know the baby scuds are going to be a problem too, but it's like they get big eventually.
Robertson,
faster than the baby shrimp. Sorry.
Robertson, my high grade blue diamond shrimp just arrived. Being high grade, will I get many low grade ones? They are my first Neocaridina shrimp.
So generally speaking, the higher the grade parents, the less low grades you get. So it is possible you will get some low grades. Pretty much speaking, the highest grade red cherries will still throw low grades. Almost all of them will be males. It's just harder to get higher grade Neocaridina males, but it doesn't really seem to be that problem with blue diamonds. So it really depends on the line, because they pulled high grade blue diamonds out of a colony of blue diamonds doesn't mean that the genetics are going to produce less culls.
Jeff Kane says, my no planaria killed my scuds, but not the planaria. And Craig said no planaria didn't work for us.
All right, so that's what I wanted to talk about.
And
Did you dose it at nighttime with all of the lights off, though?
We have not tried the alum powder. I actually do have that here too.
So the reason why I didn't try the alum powder was because people were saying that it is more damaging to the plants. Like crypts that are high in melting, if you dose that, you pretty much melt the crypt back to the point where it doesn't want to grow back. So, what are you looking up?
Mites. I didn't know that was a thing. Nate said, has anyone ever battled mites in a shrimp tank? Will no planaria wipe them out? That's so weird.
Looks like a scud, though, doesn't it?
A water mite. Yeah, it looks just like a scud.
I don't know.
Same body type, but there's also these water mites. Oh, I don't want to look at them. Removed by pH balanced water. That means that's what's the first thing I see. Testing new water temperature and skimming scum.
Lady Diane, if you're still out there, can you say something, and then I'll just bring up our itinerary for this week. Saw you in chat earlier, but it was like an hour and a half ago. I don't know if she's still there.
It says that it's just like a pH imbalance. So, I mean, realistically, the no planaria might work. But oh my goodness gracious!
Well, while she's looking at mites, we do have some leftover bags of shrimp. We have black rose, orange, yellow, and blue diamonds. We have 2 bags of each. There is 15 shrimp in each bag, pretty much $20 per bag. So shipping would be $15. Email us at thegardenofeater@gmail.com, and I am looking to ship those out tomorrow. So that deal basically ends when I wake up tomorrow around 9 o'clock in the morning. If you have not messaged me about those, then I will be dumping them out in the ponds so that way we can pack up and get ready for Missouri. I'm speaking on Thursday for the Massey Club, and then once we get back, I will be tackling the last metal rack standing inside the house. Get that moved into Jaden's room. Do a video on that. It'll be very similar to the video we just posted. I also want to run a little promotion. We didn't give away any Sam Scales prints this week, but what I'm going to do is every week that Crypt Keeper isn't on the stream. So basically every other week, I'm going to do a comment of the week or comment of the past 2 weeks, basically. So any comment on any of the videos, I'll pull out my favorite one from that space of time, and the winner will get a Sam Scales print. So we'll do that at least for a while, but just try and get more traction on some of the videos, and even on some of the past videos, encourage people on watching some of those. We're going to be gearing up and trying to produce a lot more content here, so just a little something to get some interactions going.
So Nate, you know what's crazy? I've seen these red mites out when I'm collecting. I see them all the time, and they freak me out because they look like red ticks. Like they've freaked me out.
Yeah.
But they're all in the muddy areas. Oh man,
they're not usually under the water. They're usually on top of the water.
Right? But they are a pest, and they're like very common. They can happen when you have plants put in the tanks and stuff. But it says there's 3 solutions to it, which is adding something to eat them, which they suggested like guppies. But if it's a shrimp tank, then obviously you don't want to be adding guppies. And then there's treating with Aquarisol, like AQUARISOL, which looks like it's a chemical. So you'd probably have to be very careful with that. And then manually removing them is the only other way.
Aquarium Soul, though, is going to be shrimp safe.
Yeah.
It might be an invertebrate killer, and that's what it's going to do.
It's got 3 of the toxic symbols on it. So that one would probably have copper or something in it. That's what I'm thinking, because copper will kill any inverts like that.
If you're really worried about it, I think that Bill Shields has something that
they came on the mystery
will kill
sale.
the mites.
That's crazy.
I could ask him and find that out.
Probably. No.
So
Mites. That's crazy.
See, the Lady Diane's right there. Is she still here though?
So.
Oh
Yeah. Do you ever sell bobitis? No, Grant is a hog with it.
I buy bobitis whenever I see it. It's definitely one of my favorites.
Safe?
Yes, Daphnia will not eat any shrimp.
Oops. Did not mean to pull that up. I don't know if she's here. Welcome in, Sam. Alejandro. Thanks for the $1.99 super chat vibes. Says, come on, y'all. Who doesn't want a scales printed painting? I missed that whole thing you were talking about. Thank you, vibes.
Matt, I'll consider your comment in the running for the pick. It was a good one. So far, it's the number 1 contender. But anyways, Lady Diane, if you're out there, we plan on arriving Wednesday night. Thursday, I guess we'll go to the zoo. If we have time beforehand, we'll hit up Melody's. But Friday, I'm fine with spending the whole day at your farm.
I'm eating ice cream. I got 6 gallons. I sent you an email.
Awesome.
An email.
But basically, I was planning on spending like a day and a half with you. So if Friday is our only day to spend time with you, then I won't make it a half day down there. I was only making a half day because I was trying to split up my time in Missouri evenly. There is so many people up there that we were trying to see and visit. So I was giving you at least a full day and a half. But if Friday's your only day, then we'll make a full day at Lady Diane Farm. It sounds great to us. And then the only thing I want to do is like Friday night, maybe head towards South Missouri, get a hotel down there, so that way we can wake up early in the morning, do some exploring before we drive back to Florida.
Sam says he plugged TGOE in at his talk last night. Thank you so much. Was that at the reptile thing? Is that where you were talking? I don't remember which reptile thing it is right now, but I'm trying to keep up with anything.
Yeah, you got
Thank
a lot
you,
more
though.
going on the reptile side than we do. Hopefully, we change that next year.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It was
much
supposed to be
appreciated.
this year, but we slackened. Mel said, "How do you put all the tests together? I test twice a week: pH, GH, KH, TDS, ammonia, nitrate, and nitrate. Nitrite and nitrate. I'm struggling.
I just say
tonight.
nits. It's so much easier to just say
Each.
nits.
We don't put them all together. I don't test that often. So we test the tank when it's cycled to make sure it is fully cycled, and then I might test it if there's any issues. But once you have the parameters, unless you're doing twice a week a heavy water change, like 90%, you really shouldn't have to test your tank that much.
And let's just do the rundown on that. So pH, we check pH when we first set up an aquarium with new substrate. Basically, we let the aquarium run for 30 days, and then once that 30-day period is up, I'll go, hey, Shelby, would you mind testing this aquarium for me real quick? She'll do ammonia and pH. And if ammonia is 0 and pH is under 6.5, then it's a go. We set up shrimp and we throw them in the aquarium. The only other time I would check for ammonia or nits is if we had an issue with overfeeding or anything where the tank was just producing a lot of algae or something like that. Like you would see it being dirty or as a factor or a problem. Maybe you were trying to test a new food and you wanted to see if overfeeding produced a lot of ammonia or something like that. But for the most part, all of our tanks will have 0 ammonia and 0 nits across the board, unless like you want to go check the Stardust tank. It probably gets 10, 20 nits after a big feeding because there's so much food in that tank that we just dump in there. And there's going to be probably 0 ammonia still because the bio load is still so low on shrimp.
He just takes a little swig of the water, and that's usually how he tests.
But the GH, we test basically if your RO water comes out with TDS under 8 and you're mixing your water with GH only minerals to the same TDS every single time, there's no need to check GH, and you're not having any KH in the water because you didn't add any. So I don't test the TDS of the tank. I test the TDS of the water going into the tank. And basically that's the only times we ever test. I might test pH maybe 3, 4, or 5 years down the line after we set up an aquarium if I see any issues or stagnant breeding or anything like that. But if we were to try and test as much as you're testing, we would be testing 2 or 3 times a week, like full days, 2 or 3 days. Yeah, there'd be a lot of testing.
Thank you so much, Lady Diane, for the $20 super chat. Says, "Can you hear me now?"
I saw it, but then we were talking about other things that I didn't want to interrupt it or disrupt the flow. But I was like, I know she's out there, so that's why I was like, here's our whole itinerary for Missouri. If we plan on staying another full day down there, that's why I was like, we're just playing it by ear. I'm horrible at
communication,
and I just by no means were we leaving you out whatsoever. So I assumed you're coming to the zoo with us and you were going to be our tour guide. But I understand you gave us all the key locations. That's all we really need. But like, we had somebody walk us through the zoo when we went to Pennsylvania, and it was an elderly couple, and they were done on the first trip around, and we definitely could have zipped through it a little bit quicker and seen everything twice. But it was nice having somebody point it out and show us, hey, this is what has come of this and stuff like that. So I don't mind either way.
Sam said, "I did a talk for San Diego Tropical Fish Society and plugged a lot of your channels. Thank you." And said, 10 new shrimp prints coming soon. 2 exclusives for TGO.
One of those exclusives, and we'll talk about that now.
Yeah.
All right.
Fine.
So for those that have been a supporter, a member,
Oh, hold on one second. Thank you so much, Vibes. The $1.99 Super Chat says done with 11 tanks of water change. That feeling. That is awesome. Thank you so much, Vibes.
Yeah, 11 tanks is a great feeling to get done at the end of the day. But anyways, back in Vibes, I believe you've been supporter for over 12 months. So for those that are a member for over 12 months, a full year, we're going to honor those that their credit cards and stuff like that. Trust me, Shelby's kept a good log. We know who's been here the whole time and who's not. So those people will get one of Sam's exclusive prints, as well as a 20% TGOE off coupon code. So one of Sam's exclusive prints will be exclusive for only YouTube members. I'm sorry if you weren't okay with that, Sam, but that's it. And if you want to do another exclusive print for us, then we can do that too. But I had one of the shrimp in mind that we sent you that I want to make the members only, because there's no way to get it otherwise, right? So that is our plan. Thank you for being patient. We've had a couple other ideas, and they didn't live up to like a Sam Scale exclusive print. Like that was the best idea, and then a 20% off one-time code to the website. You guys have earned it for sure.
Shitty Grady said, "Is there an API test kit that goes down below 6.0?"
No, I think the Sierra drops go down below 6.0, and that's one of the benefits to the Sierra drops. But honestly, if it's below 6, I don't really care how low it's going below 6. It's going to be good for your Caridina shrimp for sure. I just keep thinking about all the ice cream Lady Diane has. 6 gallons, right? Is that what she said?
Yeah, she's getting ready for you.
And Jaden too. He's becoming a monster all on his own.
Yeah.
And Layla. I mean, but Jaden's really becoming a savage, asking Grandpa 3 times for milkshakes. Like, come on, kid.
Oh my goodness gracious!
That's
my poor father. My poor father had to deal with my children for a day,
what a legend,
and they just needed ice cream. And he went to the store and made them milkshakes. I just still can't believe it. My dad's awesome. And Mel said, I guess I'm worried where it should be more hands off. Only went a month, not water change. Tested great. TDS 357. Okay. If it's for Neos.
Yeah. So all I would really do with your water changes is I would test the TDS of the tap water before I did every water change. That for sure is a ritual that I do. Anytime I pull tap water out, I hit it with the prime, and then I test the TDS afterwards. Also, it lets me know if I overdose the prime too much. I can double dose on the prime and not have any issues, but I really don't want to be wasting that much prime,
Keith said, I have a 20 long PRL tank with a small hang on the back filter and a mountain filter. Both of them? The light and the hang on back filter are on a timer. Is this wrong? Not if you
I wouldn't put the hang on the back filter on a timer, because what can happen is a lot of the stuff can get built up into the filter, and I almost cringe every single time the power goes out, because all of our hang on the back filters are going to stop for a little bit of time, and then when they kick on, all of them send out a little bit of mold into the aquarium. It's just mold. It's probably packed with beneficial bacteria and stuff like that. But honestly, it's going to be a mess. And if you're doing that every single day, you're going to have a collection of debris underneath your hang on the back filter. I would take the hang on the back filter off of the timer and put it 24 hours. 24/7.
I would just be worried about it turning off and on like that, burning out the motor. I know it being on all the time, but kicking on and off might actually make it stop.
The impeller itself is going to take a lot more damage kicking on and off than it is just constantly running.
There's so much power is going to it in a short spurt where if it's running for a long time, you're using less current. Adam asked what zoo we're going to. The St. Louis Zoo, I believe. I don't know the actual name of it, but I know it's in St. Louis.
Yeah, the Missouri. Oh, man. I don't think it's Hunter Zoo. I don't know why that came to mind. That can't be it. It's something like generic like that.
I'm thinking about it, but I've yawned like 6 times. Mel says KH7, GH13. Most recently it was KH3 or 4GH8, then crushed coral.
Yeah, the crushed coral is actually going to leach out some KH. So you could actually have some properties like from crushed coral or Ceru stone that could leach and your water parameters could go up. But like say if you're doing proper water changes like 20 to 30% every other week, those numbers are going to keep the whatever's leaching into the water from being a problem.
Jeff Payne, member for 14 months. Super excited. Night Owl says, is this next month?
Yeah, so as like Night Owl gets to 12 months, you leave your chat, or like we will honor for those that the credit card has prevented you from doing your full month continuously. I know there's a word for that.
I don't know what you were saying.
Consecutively, that's the word.
There you go. Sam said, I'm perfectly fine with what you do. Adam said, I take my nieces to the St. Louis Zoo about 3 times each summer. They love feeding the stingrays and watching the sea lion show. My kids love stingrays, so I'm excited. Hopefully it's not too busy because school just started, so I'm hoping for the best on that. And yes, we love stingrays so much.
And Sam said like a Pokemon rare collectible. Exactly what I was thinking of. So,
member for 14 months. Team Neo. It says they got the Lindy Zoo so that they can watch the dolphins. So that's cool.
I don't think we'll be anywhere near the Indy Zoo.
Yeah.
Keith talking about Sam. It's just funny because I met Keith with Sam at Keystone Clash.
Oh, that's the Keith?
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't put a name to the face of it.
Dr. Bastillier's distributor. You're looking for any Dr. Bastillier's foods? We got some great shrimp food and garlic food. It works great for the shrimp. Your shrimp carrying a little poop, get some garlic.
So Shady Grady says, your daughter looks just like you, Shelby. She looked very cute on her first day of school outfit. Yes, she is a thing of her own.
Straight hair and got my goofy ears. That's the only difference.
Oh, we make fun of that all the time. You could tell she's a good mix between us, but she does lean more towards me. Same with Jaden. I notice certain features that are identical to mine, but he does tend to resemble Grant more. Other fish don't want Neo snacks. Okay.
How far behind are we in chat? I feel like we're caught up.
We're almost there.
Oh, that's what it is. We're 1 minute behind.
Sam says St. Louis Zoo's nice. We went there before. Has leftover. Lady Diane says St. Louis has leftover architecture from the 1904 World's Fair. That's crazy to think about. It's so cool to see something like that still intact. I love seeing old buildings because now everything just looks like.
The shed is pretty old.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Well, welcome, Matt. Says, hey guys, just want to say I have bought from quite a few shrimp breeders, but you guys are absolutely killing it with the mixed type Caridina. When will you get super tigers? Thank you so much for that comment.
So I have super tigers in 3 aquariums. 1 tank has exploded with babies. The other 2 tanks have gone stagnant for like a year and a half. they're basically just producing enough to replace the colony. I do have one other person that is in line for Super Tigers before you, but if you want to message me at thegardenofeater@gmail.com and just keep in tabs, I can let you know when they become available. I'll probably let some go before this winter. But my other thing is we have bred orange-eyed blue tigers with red tigers to make normal tigers. They're not quite the same as super tigers, but very similar. And they're more prolific for me, and those are something that will be available before super tigers. So if you're looking for just normal type tiger, Caridina Marie, that would be another option for you.
Mel said, thanks for another great stream and the advice. Thanks for watching. Lady Diane said, food sucks at the zoo. We have already made a game plan that we're going to have a good breakfast and just eat ice cream at the zoo. Because we usually can walk through a zoo pretty fast. Like, I don't think people we're pretty fast with it. Because
there's
like,
certain things that I
great.
don't want to see. And I'm just like, nope, that makes me mad. Let's move on. And then there's other things that are just straight up tourist traps that I'm like, don't need my picture. And then there's things where I'm like, all right, I want to stare at this aquarium for 30 minutes. And then I'm like, where did the kids go? Where did Shelby go? They have left me here.
Goodbye.
So we definitely cover the zoo.
Don't find us looking at the lobsters.
And
we're terrible.
No, you're usually at the penguins.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
where I find you guys. Yeah. But we've seen quite a bit, and we know what to spend time at and invest our memories wisely.
Well, Adam, sorry to hear about your health, but you're at the right place. Watch our live streams, and we do give away some of Sam Scales' art. He makes exclusive prints for us, and we have them to give away on live streams.
We didn't give any out this week, but I can guarantee we will give out some next week. So
he said they have a pineapple drink where they serve it in a pineapple, and it's really good. Brand's going to have one now.
Probably. Jaden will talk me into it, and I'm not one to say no for something I want to.
Yeah, the food sucks. I think we're up on chat. I think so.
Did Ed say it's a free zoo and he'll be joining us on Thursday?
No, ranked 3rd in the world.
Oh yeah,
that's crazy.
I remember Ed actually saying that because I think we talked about going to the Missouri Zoo at Aquashella the last time we saw each other. So
we're gonna have to try to find this orange fungus. It's very rare. Biscuit with the $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Says, what plants are in your dwarf rainbow tank?
We have the Loguidia repens, it's a stem plant. We have mops though in the breeding aquariums that we rotate every 3 weeks.
There's quite a few plants in there.
Yeah, but it's mainly Loguidia repens and some Bacopa Carolina.
Everywhere. It's overtaken the tank. Oh, penguin exhibit is good. Can't wait to see that. Mel says, what fish do you keep? I have probably over 30 different types. A lot of endlers, Achilles fish. We got some Gudeids, guppies, some live bear, goodness gracious, beta fish. Now I'm drawing a blank. We don't have the Rasboras anymore.
We have the Galaxy Rasboras.
Oh, okay. So we do have Rasboras. We've got Madagascar. We have a lot of rainbows, angelfish, discus, plecos, a lot. Too many. So just keep an eye out. We do have
I've got
a video eventually coming out once we get some of these. It's going to be quite down the road, but we are redoing our bedroom for fish specifically, so it'll be all fish in there. It will be all condensed into the bedroom. So, and
Sam, Shelby has a ton of Xyrus.
Oh yeah.
Booming in her bog setup. So if you want it for a bog, she can send you some different varieties. If you want the aquatic one, though, I think there's like 2 or 3 ones in the garage that are doing all right.
KJE keeps a lot of good days. So we're going to have to contact you when I set up the new tanks and see
Or just
what
bring
I
them
don't
to
have.
the clash.
I
See
don't
you
know if we'll be
there.
ready by then.
We'll be
Hopefully.
ready.
Uh,
Is that it?
oh, just got my first pair of Juvie Golden Wonder Killies. I hope you do well with them. I love Golden Wonders. Always a solid choice. But yes, we are caught up and it's time to go to bed because I got to get up and take the kids to the bus in the morning. Getting used to that is, I'm never going to get used to it. Pandagara are my
Pandagaras.
favorite happening.
We don't have any Pandagaras. LRB seems to buy those every single time I've seen him come into the club. So
He might have some.
you know he
I don't
does.
know.
He's
Yeah.
got a colony of them, but I like the Panda Loaches. Those are cool. But yeah, we don't have any Garas yet. So
Yep.
all right, guys, everybody, thank you so much. Appreciate all the new members, all the donations, super chats. Until next week, and we'll be giving away some Sam Scales next week. And remember, best comment will also get a Sam Scales. Not
Thank
next
you.
week though, the following week.
Thank you guys
Next week
so
will be
much.